Music of the Year 2001. The downfall of grunge in the mid-1990s left the rock world very confused. The weird little hangover of the rock world that was the late 1990s left a bunch of splintering of genres and sub-subgenres. In 2001, rock was still a fairly dominant force in music, but hip-hop was starting to rock it up a bit. As a result of the splintering, there were just so many things going on at once that I'm gonna have to split my rock sections up into about 6 separate videos. This one will be discussing post-grunge, aka butt rock, aka just regular old rock and roll, bro. Why do you have to give it a label? I'm sorry, there's like a big argument about this whole thing. I'm not anticipating the comments to look pretty. Corporate music took many different shapes. After the sudden success of Creed in the late 1990s, record labels started jumping on bands that they thought sounded very similar. This resulted in a lot of music that seemed to have run the old grunge formula through a cleaning filter, and to a lot of people it didn't feel quite the same as it did before. This led to the meteoric rise in these bands that are despised by music snobs, but still have a pretty solid fan base even today. There's tons of Eddie Vedder and Kurt Cobain wannabes here. Sludgy production, one song talking about childhood trauma followed by the next being about partying. These bands followed a formula and it worked because these things sold like hotcakes. Most of the albums on here sold at least 1 million copies. Now one thing I'll ask is that the comments section doesn't get too heated. My own reviews are going to be very critical and negative and very snarky and smimey. I hope that there are fans out there that understand that this is just my opinion. If this music does it for you, all the more power to you, my friend. Some of you might be asking why I'm even bothering to cover these albums, and well, it's important to talk about what was popular. We're looking at 2001 as a time capsule. Not every album is gonna be toxicity. Let's get the show on the road. I suffer, and I suffer for you guys. Silver Side Up, Nickelback, aka the worst thing to happen on 9/11. Dear God, I listened to this thing as a teenager. Okay, full disclosure, I was a Nickelback fan when I was a kid. Those were not good times. I made my own frickin' Nickelback fan site. Why? Why, 14-year-old me? Why? As an adult, I had to question my teenagehood sanity even more. The production sounds muddy and distorted. Chad Kroeger might have a very easily identifiable voice, but it does get very grating after the first 30 minutes. Some of the songs try to touch up on these serious issues, and it just feels very disingenuous, like they're just trying to play up to a certain audience. That being said, easily Nickelback's best, D+. Break the Cycle, Stained. While Stain is more well known today for having a crappy name and for Aaron Lewis being a chud, there was a time where this band's music was inescapable. I'm talking this album spent multiple weeks in the #1 position on Billboard. At its worst, this album is just laughably dramatic and over the top. At its best, there's actually a couple of pretty decent moments on here, especially the 2 most famous singles. However, I do feel like this album sold as much as it did because of those singles. It's not the worst thing ever, but it just gets a little too cheesy for its own good. C-. Weathered, Creed. You know, I thought I would hate this thing more than I actually did. Most of the music is at least competently played. And there's a couple of pretty decent tunes on here as well. Scott's voice does get a little annoying, but this is far from Creed's worst. Its biggest crime is just honestly being boring. C. Come Clean, Puddle of Mud. No, I'm not showing the album art. Just go ahead and put yourself on a sex offender registry if you really want to see it so bad. This thing is garbage. It reviewed okay back in the day, but somehow this album has aged like milk because of the antics of vocalist Wes Scantlin. It's just made a lot of the lyrics age even worse now that we know what this man's true colors are. These guys are easily the worst that Post-Grunge had to offer, at least until we started getting Theory of a Dead Man. Not even the 2 popular singles can even carry this album. This album feels like it farted itself into existence, and what a smelly fart it was. D-. And that's about it for the notable post-grunge albums of the year. I'll see you next time when I talk about the garage rock / post-punk revivalist movement. I had no idea they actually combined the two of them together now. And be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on the video if you want to see more like this. See you later.